Hi, I'm Rick Lovall, the Assistant Director of the Stewardship Group and the Vice President of the UPC Loan Fund. The Loan Fund began in 2011 because we wanted to help our churches be able to receive various financing options that they may not be able to get with their local banks. We also wanted to be able to provide districts, churches, and even church members an opportunity to invest in kingdom-minded investments that will help the kingdom grow. Over the course of this time, we have financed over 200 churches and now manage over $72 million in assets. To give you a little perspective on that, that makes us larger than 800 community banks in North America. We grew by 28% last year, and we're looking to match that again this year. Join me in this video as I interview Pastor Brandon Buford from the Lighthouse of O'Fallon, Missouri. Their testimony and story of how God has helped them grow through financial and planning stewardship is going to inspire you and educate you. It's also going to show you how the Loan Fund can partner with your local church to see the kingdom come in your community. It is my honor to have with us today Pastor Brandon Buford from the Lighthouse of O'Fallon, Missouri. Pastor Buford is not just an investor with the Loan Fund, he's also now a borrower of the Loan Fund. And today with this interview, we're going to talk about how this whole process came about. Brother Buford, thanks for coming today. We appreciate this opportunity to visit with you about this. Before we get too deep into this, though, tell us about your family. Tell us about how you became the pastor of the Lighthouse.
We became the pastor in 2008. My wife and I and our family were youth pastors in Toledo, Ohio, and began to feel God redirecting us. I grew up in this area, so I knew of the church, knew of its availability. And in June of 2008, we were elected. There were 9 voting members.
9.
And now God has blessed our church in growth. We now have more people on the platform than we did in the whole church
awesome.
12 years ago.
That's awesome. And your wife was for this whole
whole
move and everything.
She was. We had my wife, Brienne, and then Zane would have been 5, and Zoe would have been 3,
Yep.
I think, 2, maybe 2. I think she was 2. And then, of course, we've added a 2-year-old Zeke. So that's our midlife crisis.
That's all right. We love Zeke.
But
that's
we've
awesome.
been here now since 2008, and God has blessed immensely.
That's incredible. As I mentioned, you all started out as an investor with a loan fund. I went back to the history, and I saw that you opened a certificate with us in July of 2017. And that was your building fund. And you had raised a little bit of money. You'd put it in there, and obviously it's grown since then. I want you to talk about that. Talk about the building fund, your process, why you even chose to invest it in the UPC Loan Fund.
Right. So in 2015, I knew we needed a new building. We have no room to grow. We were at 80, maybe 85% capacity at that point. And so I've been praying, but also looked at our finances and realized that at the end of the year, our profit and loss was perfectly even. You know, where are you going to get thousands of dollars a month to do this?
Right.
And so I went to General Conference in 2015 saying, God, direct me. I talked to people. I talked to capital campaign people. But God was very specific to me and said, just ask your church for individuals to give $1,000 a year above and beyond any of their other giving. Even broke it down and said, do it 10-month campaign, February to November, $100 a month, $25 a week. So we presented that in January of 2016. I thought maybe I could find 20 people or a conglomeration that would get it 20,000, and which would be a huge amount, but not enough. God blew my mind, and we had pledges that night at the end of January of $49,000.
Wow.
When it was all said and done in 16, we had raised over $55,000. At General Conference of 16, now that I had money in the bank, I began to listen a little carefully when the loan fund was presented, when stewardship was presented, when all of this. And so I began to approach Brother Drury about this, and it just made sense. We were making no money in our bank. I don't even think we were making a percentage. But then we could get a 5-year certificate. At that point, I want to say it was 3%. And he was very specific, and able to tell us that even if we found a building or if we needed to use that money before the 5-year term was up, as long as we used that money for a building, we got to keep all of the interest. Well, that was unheard of in our banks.
Right.
So we began to, I think when we started it, We already had 90,000 or something close to that in it. So we started with about 90,000. And when I got that first quarter's interest, it was more than most fundraisers we could do. So
better than a bake sale.
Yeah, it was no brainer. And so we've been doing that. Well, we're still doing it, but basically for 4 years, we've been able to invest in the loan fund.
That's incredible. Obviously, folks that invest with the loan fund, we use that money to loan to churches, similar to yours. To date, we've loaned out money to over 200 churches in 32 different states. Still have not had a single foreclosure.
Wow.
And even, check this morning, we have no loans that are past due. I don't think there's a bank in America that could say that right now.
Not
it's
during
incredible,
COVID.
Right, especially during COVID. So, again, all of these funds, whether they're from districts, whether they're from churches, whether they're from individuals who invest, loaning that to churches, helping the kingdom grow, I have to ask, how does it make you feel to know that your investment was not just blessing you all, it's blessing other churches?
When we presented it to the church that we wanted to open up this account, and I remember first off in a business meeting, telling them that we're going to invest this money and we're going to get 3%. There's business people in my church that first off said, well, you can't get that at a bank. So it was awesome to show the UPCI loan fund and how good it does. But then to say that not only are we going to make more money than we would ever make investing it there rather than a bank, but to know that it wasn't just sitting, it was also being used, it was a no-brainer for us.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's take this a step further. In the past few weeks, the loan fund has approved your church for a loan to purchase an incredible facility. It's a ready-made church. Y'all can go in there and start having church now. I know you're going to do some remodeling, but it's just incredible how that whole process worked. But before that, you and I started talking about 2 years ago about your borrowing capabilities. And at the time, you were looking at buying a piece of property, a vacant lot. You're going to build a pretty incredible building. I remember you describing it to me. It was pretty amazing. You were going to build all that and go through that whole process. But that's not what happened.
No.
You guys have purchased an unbelievable, like I said, ready-made church. How did that happen? Tell us about that whole process.
Well, it would start back in 2015 when I was praying, God, what are we going to do? And very specifically, the Lord told me, He said, Brandon, if you personally will sacrifice and give, and if your church will prove that it will sacrifice and give, the Lord said, I will do the rest.
Wow.
And I have spent 4 years thinking that some businessman's going to walk in the church and drop down a $100,000 tithe check, which I've heard other pastors do.
Right.
And it never happened. And now we're desperate for a new building. I mean, desperate for a new building. And I remember every once in a while reminding the Lord, you told me you would fill in the gaps. I haven't seen that yet. Because we did not have hardly any major contributors. We're talking about $25 a week from people. There was no great big splash amounts.
Right.
And so we were looking at buying land, and then of course having to raise more money and building, and that's another 3 or 4 years. So we're already maxed out at our church. And but in this year in January, I took a hunting trip to Arizona desert. And we're sitting out there in the desert, and I, for whatever reason, get cell phone service in the desert, and my phone is blowing up. And I recognize the number. It's a local pastor in our town that I've connected with and communicated with. Finally, I sat down in the dust, and I answered the phone, and he said, Brandon, we're going to sell our church building. Would you be interested in it?
Wow.
And I said, well, yes, I'm interested, because I knew I'd looked at that building to buy 6 years ago, and it was out of our price range, and it needed a lot of work. And so I said, but I'm hunting, I can't see it. He goes, I haven't even put it on the market. I wanted to start with you first. I said, all right. I remember saying, God, is this the miracle? So I called the local realtor, pulled some information on this building. I knew what he had purchased it for. And in January 16th, we saw the building. Now, here's what's crazy. They called us and offered us the building. On February the 3rd, a business next to us called me and said, hey, Brandon, any chance in the next 5 years you want to sell your current building?
That's remarkable.
And I started laughing. I said, well, we're fixing to present an offer to purchase. So we went and put an offer in on February the 11th. And, of course, COVID has slowed a lot of stuff down, but it kept moving forward. And we are purchasing a 28,000 square foot building with a 400 seat or 350 seat auditorium. It can seat 400 if we needed to. 100 seat chapel, full office complex, incredible classrooms and all of that. And we will sell our building, and neither one of it ever hit the market or had to go through a realtor.
God worked out so many details for y'all.
He did.
You know, when you first called me and said, hey, we got a chance at this building, I went over and looked at it with you.
Yes.
You know, I was just amazed that this opportunity would come open, and to see how God worked out so many details. You talk about filling in the gaps. I mean, he clearly worked out issues. I know I don't want to drag it through too many details, but you found some issues with parking, and there was
Right.
issues with this, and God just worked out things. You were able to get more than you originally thought.
We basically are purchasing this building for under $1 million, and I just had to sign paperwork to insure it, because
Right.
obviously that's needed for the closing, and they are insuring it for $4 million.
$4 million, and you got it for basically $1 million.
Right. And the one thing that was I enjoyed was I got to work with you, and you answered so many questions. I purchased a house, but I've never had to purchase this. And there were times that you talked me down when my emotions were going somewhere, but helped me understand. In fact, I even brought you into several of our board meetings,
Right.
Because when you're talking about $1 million project, not many people have knowledge of that.
Right.
And so to bring you in, to bring the loan fund in and that expertise, I believe it helped our board feel comfortable and knowing how to walk this process.
Right, and that's something that we definitely offer to churches, whether it's in person. I've done Zoom meetings with boards before. A lot of times a board, like you said, they may not have had experience at that dollar amount. And there's something about when you start talking about $1 million, that people get a little edgy about that. And a lot of pastors may not have that experience with talking deep finances or a lot of the lending, terminology, things like that. And so that's what we're here for. And that's a message that we really want to get out there is, we're not here just to loan money. We want to help.
Right.
And we want to build that rapport and build that trust, not just with you, but with the entire congregation. Obviously, what we would like to see in the future is members of your church who decide to invest personally in the loan fund and just help it expand, kind of pay it forward, if you will.
Absolutely. And you in our board or our business meeting, our final business meeting where the church had to vote, we actually Zoomed you in because I wanted, just in case our members had any questions, and I'm sold on this process from the beginning of investing to now being able to pull from it, but we are still going to continue to invest. It may not be quite as much because now we have to pay a note, but we're still going to be investing because the return, both financially, but also I believe just spiritually, is what we need.
Right, and that's another message we're really wanting to get out to the folks, is to let them know is the profits that we make here at the Loan Fund, they're reinvested back into the kingdom. If it's a secular bank, you don't know what those profits are going to. Right. They may be donating them to causes that you don't support. But with us, our goal, over the next 5 years, we have a goal in place where we want to be able to donate $1 million back to projects within the organization. And we do that from the money that we're making off the loans. It's a total recycle effect. And that's the beauty of having a church loan fund.
Right.
Churches like yourself, if they're interested in investing, if they're interested in borrowing money, obviously they can go to our website, UPCIloanfund.org, to learn more about it. They can contact me directly. I might even let folks call you. You're such a great salesman for the loan fund.
Well, let me say this, and we're in our 5th year of working with the loan fund. 4.5 years of investing, and now starting to be benefit. But the thing that I believe benefited our church was the relationship. Yes, the money that was saved and invested, but it was the relationship, because we kept good records of our contributions. And when I approached the loan fund now to get a loan, I was able to show our church 4 years, 4 solid years that was very consistent, and that became the monthly budget that we could afford to draw from. That was our mortgage. So now we're able to show 4.5 years that our church consistently gives this above and beyond everything else.
Right.
And that makes it very easy. We're not stressing. We're not stretching. I don't even believe we're stretching, because we've had 4 years to plan this, to set it up, and now it's just kind of it's almost a memory. It's easy to do.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and this was not in our notes that we talked about what we're going to discuss, but I'm going to share it now. You guys have done it the right way. If I was going to create a system that somebody should use, it's going to be the Lighthouse System. How you used your certificate here, your building fund, to not only save the money, but to show us that you can make a payment, to how you went through the process of borrowing money. Your finances were in order. When I was asking for financial statements, different things, you had it right there. You guys were easy to do business with.
Good.
And obviously we want to be easy to do business with. But I try to encourage pastors, get your finances in order. Get a plan in order. Get a savings plan in order. Anything that has to do with preparing yourself for future growth. You'll never go wrong doing that. And you guys have definitely done it the right way.
If we would not have, let's say we only wanted to pull from the loan fund, which I know people do, but that church would have come open, dropped in our lap, and we would not have had the down payment.
Wow.
We're able to have the down payment,
right,
able to have those funds to jump on this. And now I know what God was telling me back in 2015. If you'll do it, I'll do the rest. And he did. He dropped it in there. They called us. The person that's buying our church called us. Yep. And we haven't used a realtor. Nothing's going on the market. So we're saving money in that sense. And we are excited. We should be fully, and we're able to stay in our old building until we fully remodel the new building. And the idea is before Christmas, we'll be in our brand new building.
That's incredible. Incredible. Well, we love to be a part of the blessings of God. And whether it's as a lender or just me in support of what you're doing, I'm loving all of it. Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for taking this time. We appreciate it. Any final words, anything you want to say? Maybe encourage some folks to invest?
Absolutely. I talk to pastors. I talk to different ones. It has blessed us so much. And so, sure, have somebody call me, because we've seen it from the very first dollar to now being able to partake of it. And I'm y'all's biggest fan, and I want to continue to do it. And we're going to continue to invest. And I believe we'll pay this building off fast, and we'll be looking at the next building and the next step.
Hey, the faster you pay it off, the faster we can turn it around and invest in another church. Thank you again so much. May God bless y'all. And all of you who want to invest, give us a call. We'll be happy to help you out. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Buford, for sharing that testimony of what God is doing at the Lighthouse of O'Fallon, Missouri. It's a pleasure for us to partner with you in God's plans for your city. For those who would like to learn more or would like to invest in the loan fund, visit our website at upciloanfund.org or text the word INVEST to the number 474747. May God bless you, and may His kingdom continue to grow.